And a lot of people don't even know the categories they should be looking in for to find what's attractive. You can know for a guy it's jeans and t-shirt, but what types of t-shirts do you wear? Your face shape matters, your shoulder shape matters. So you could spend, let's say, a ton of money on a crew neck when you should actually be wearing a Henley top because that's going to look more attractive for you.
What determines the difference
I know.
between those?
I'm thinking. Look, I've
Jeez, I don't
bought
know.
literally like thousands of T-shirts, and I
Right.
never knew this.
Is
Help
Adam
me.
wearing the correct T-shirt for his frame?
That's
right
the
now?
question for Brittany.
Brittany, you're in the
okay.
chat. You can look. You can weigh in. But look, actually, I take that back. Brittany, please do not type.
It's gonna be
Do
like
not weigh.
graphic tee, very tacky.
Please do
There you
not
go.
type in the chat.
How you doing? Think before you sleep.
Can you hear me?
We can
Yeah.
hear you.
Oh,
What's up?
good. That's,
Welcome back.
Did we use Zoom last time or did we use Streamlabs?
We used Discord last time. Don't you remember?
No, we use Zoom. What are you talking about?
Wait, I was trying to
Because
gaslight him.
I don't
Why
have
did you
I
do
don't
that?
have an avatar up. I'm having to like figure this out live. as I'm,
I
like,
have your
20 minutes late.
avatar. Look, I have your avatar up, so you don't have to worry.
Sweet. It's like
all we want
like
to
I'm
hear
there.
is that sweet voice of yours. That sweet
Right.
silky voice.
Thank
How you doing, man? Thanks
I'm
for
doing pretty well.
Thanks for joining in and celebrating our 300th show with us.
Well,
You are-
congratulations.
I think this is your second appearance, so
Correct.
very cool. How you doing?
Yeah, we covered your response to Noah Sampson. That's his name.
And this stream or
No,
in a
in the past. That was the first.
oh
one.
right yeah. I was like
Right.
you already 'cause
No,
we-
no, no,
you,
no.
the not the second one.
Was there ever a response to any of your second responses or no?
No, he's been like
He's scared now.
he's been missing in action for like a month.
Like
citing
making
some
any
sort
content?
he hasn't made content in a while.
Wow.
He's like having some sort of life issues, I guess. So
Okay.
as much as I disagree with him, hopefully he gets better.
Sure.
Yeah, that's always good.
Yeah.
So we want to talk to you about something, but our first question for guests is always, what do you want to talk about? Is there anything you want to talk about?
Oh, I don't know. Recently, like, I feel like as your opinions get more nuanced, people push back a lot more, and like as much as people say they want nuanced and fair takes, they often you'll get the most pushback on videos where you try to have fair takes. So
That's so true. Holy
things like
shit,
that are
yeah.
kind of annoying.
Yes,
Um,
everyone wants a very simplistic, like my side right, other side bad take. Yes.
I think it's possible to give nuanced takes, but you have to be incredibly careful about how you go about them
Mhm.
and not make any mistakes. You have to not make any mistakes in the nuanced take, and you also have to say a particular metaphor that the side that would hate that take would agree with. So you have to be like super, super careful about it.
What
And
was the take that you had that kind of led to all this?
I'm malding because I recently released a video. Do you guys know about the whole Cheesecake Factory situation?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yes, of course
Okay.
I do. Yeah.
So, apparently
give the background for somebody who might not know, like
Okay.
Sitch. He doesn't know what's going on.
So there was a video of a person who I guess allegedly live streamed a date that she went on where a guy was supposed to be taking her to a nice restaurant, but he pulls up to the parking lot and it's Cheesecake Factory, and she flips out and records the whole conversation, acts very entitled and mean and weird.
Mhm.
And it turns out all that was fake. So
No way. I didn't know
that's
that part of it.
yeah, it was fake. I was like, because people doubt every internet video, so I was like, okay, let's see their evidence that's fake, and I usually do that before I pick a topic because I always like to assume things are fake.
Mhm.
Because the consequences of me reacting to a video that ends up being fake are pretty huge. It's because I spend 1 to 2 weeks on each video.
Right.
So,
So the
what would the consequences be? Would you set it to private, or is that what you're...
I mean, it really depends. Like, it depends on how much the fake video affects the situation. So in this case, there's still because it was. Do you guys know who Shira is?
No.
Shira
Like
7 is
the
like a
He-Man lady?
no. She's maybe she was a fan of He-Man. She's a person like she's like think of the manosphere, but think of like the opposite of that, where it's like the manosphere is saying all women are gold diggers, and on the gold digger end of that, she's teaching people how to do that. And so
How to be gold diggers?
yeah, how to be gold diggers. Like
What?
it's really ironic, and plus she's actually pretty good at humor. It's
That's
too bad
awesome.
she doesn't debate because I'd love to see these two
is she
groups
good
fight.
at teaching women to be gold diggers? That's like the
I
question.
God.
I've watched enough of her content to where I genuinely think if people followed her advice, it would work. But the problem is that she recommends toxic relationships.
Right.
So she's like, okay, get a guy who's kind of like a wuss, who's 15 to 25 years older than you. Here's how you handle all these situations to make sure he gives you like a show in the relationship that you are like to be financially spoiled, that you have certain expectations. I think all that shit will work if you hit the right target. However, the problem is everybody thinks they're going to get a multi-millionaire guy who's going to simp for them, and so they're focused on these weird relationships that are actually abusive instead of focusing on good relationships. So the issue with that, obviously, the person who was faking the video was trying to mimic being a follower of Shira, and she even like copied her speaking patterns and everything like that. Is that these people, she's still creating, she's actually very, very popular on TikTok because people re-upload her content. So people who follow her content are massive creators like the Wizard Liz. She has 4 million, I think 5 million subscribers. There are other smaller creators. One's named Nadine Hui, who has like, I think a couple 100,000 followers on TikTok. And so this whole culture around being financially spoiled girlies and basically getting whatever you can from a man and not really, I mean, I think it's okay if you have what they call like the financial appetite of dating someone who's more wealthy, that's fine. But you really should be thinking about, if you're going to date somebody who has that kind of wealth, is there any sort of like niceties? Is there any way you should treat them, or should you just be abusing them? And the problem is that these channels just recommend that you abuse rich people and extract as many resources as possible. And in every, you can watch the Wizard Liz is kind of like a self-help person, but you can watch her videos. And I don't think I've watched any video where she talks about how to treat a partner well. It's more like, here's what I got from my partner. Here's how I get more resources from my partner. Here's how I self-improved.
What is the rationale?
Wait. There are 3 things. Number 1,
Okay,
Adam, take the picture out.
What are you talking about?
I see the background that you put in. You're not
Look,
sneaky.
we're supposed to be talking about strict gender
Take it
roles.
out.
This is like perfect for this conversation.
Take it out. Number 1. Number 2. So people were saying in the chat that it was real, that they did an interview afterwards.
Oh no, it was fake. I think so the reason, so what happened was, when I was doing research, is like, oh, this is actually, the acting was very, very good, by the way. Like it fooled pretty much everybody. And
this is the first I'm hearing it's not real. I thought it was real.
Yeah,
it's pretty good. Yeah.
So the people were saying, oh, look at this on this TikTok account where this person she just uploads a bunch of fake skit videos. Right. I was like, oh, well, so I went and looked at the TikTok account, and it was of another black lady who looked very similar to her, but it's like, these two people don't have the same face and they don't have the same voice. I can hear her speak. And so it's like, okay, well, this person just re-uploaded it. It's TikTok. People steal content on TikTok all the time. So that's probably what happened. And then I found no other information. And then when I uploaded the video, like the first 10 comments were like, it's fake. I was like, okay, if it's one person saying it's fake, there's probably a little bit of reason. They're probably just the people who looked at the channel it was uploaded to and mistook the person for the uploader, even though it was a different person. But when like 10 people say it's fake, 20 people say it's fake, okay, I'm probably wrong. So I went and looked it up, and then another person who, you can just go to the pinned comment of that video, showed 2 different takes of the Cheesecake Factory video.
There are 2 different takes.
Yeah.
So you did do a video on it. So there were kind of ramifications. Okay. Fascinating.
There were 2 different takes in the same video, or there were 2 different takes?
2 different takes of the cheese. They were like, here's the scene where she says, I'm not going in. And like one was like very, very pissed off and mad, like she was being like more of a bitch. The other one where she was the one they actually ended up using, she was being more sassy. I can send you the link to that.
No, but like, where did people find this other take? Is it just on the internet somewhere?
Somebody, so apparently this is alleged. I haven't done too much research into say this is a fact, but apparently the person who interviewed her, Kevin Wesley, is the one who set it all up, allegedly.
Oh, okay, interesting.
So and he obviously knows it's fake, and he keeps pretending it's real because he found the people. And it's a little bit suspicious where it's like, oh, these random people on the internet, you were just magically able to find them a week later. And they also happen to live in the same city as you, which is weird.
Right.
Very weird.
Yeah. So, but they held their characters together so well, especially in the interview. The interview makes it even more believable because it's like they're acting as they should. Where this guy's like, "Oh, Cheesecake Factory is like a special moment to me. It's like a family thing," versus like, and it just seems like the guy would that type of guy would say that. He's like very very reserved about what his job. He's like, "Oh, I'm a resident." Doesn't say he's a doctor.
Hmm.
Um, he even they even say like manosphere terminology, and he gets like embarrassed, like I don't really want to be associated with that, which is I don't think you wouldn't think if someone's hiring a person to say um to make some sort of manosphere point that they would hire someone who'd be shy. But he's like, yeah, I am the alpha Chad. He'd think he'd lean more into it.
I mean, yeah,
So
I guess
I don't know
that's
if it was just
interesting.
like incredibly lucky that they got the acting correct,
Hmm.
or if it was very well planned out. But they did a really good job with that in terms of faking it. So in terms of the ramifications for a video being fake, it depends on how fake it is. There was a episode of Kitchen Nightmares that I did where the narrative was this lazy hoe wife who's cheating on her husband, lets her husband do all the work while she goes and uh, does her nails all day and sits and walks the treadmill at the gym and watches TV. So that was the narrative of the episode. This husband's working 12 hours a day while the wife is doing nothing. I did more research on it and I was basically done with this video. And I was looking for pictures to put up to kind of
Oh
show what's
no.
going on. I mean, this video was 1 hour from being done after like a week of work, and
Oh
a
no.
week of 12-hour days. So
Oh,
I looked at
painful.
the video, and I saw a picture of a kid. I was like, well, that's a total. They didn't mention she had a kid at all in the show. Or they had a kid because they're still married um, to this day. Well, it's like, oh, that's why she's not at the restaurant. She's busy taking care of her child. And then
Right.
if we're talking about what in terms of my philosophical values where Gordon Ramsay's telling her to work instead of be a stay-at-home mom, like I'm not gonna I mean if people want to work instead of if they want to do a two working parent household, I don't have that much of a problem. Economically it's a little bit hard to have a working parent household.
Hmm.
But if my whole point was that I typically try to find people who are looking to uh have one parent stay home and one parent who doesn't, why would I sit there and promote that? And then also promote a story that was completely fabricated and fake. And the kind of the crucial point of the advice in the story relied on her actually being lazy. So in that case, I just threw the video away.
That
Um,
sucks.
yeah, in this case where it's like, okay, but the real thing that sucked is that the video being fake causes people to not listen to the bait and switch where it's like, oh, you think I'm going to talk about this really entitled chick, but I'm actually going to talk about both the manosphere and the entitled chicks and how they're both related.
Hmm.
Because there was like she's obviously this person's supposed to the guy Jay, the Indian guy was looking for marriage, and it's like, oh, this is how you're going to treat your husband, versus like here's how a popular manosphere guy treats his wife, where he does his wedding vows. Donovan Sharp is his name. He does his wedding vows. He uploaded it to YouTube for some reason, where he says, I was fine before I met you. I would be fine if you were out of my life. I'm glad I turned you into the woman that you are today. Basically, his whole wedding vows are not like, I promised to do this for you. You're so great. And it was more like a narcissistic, like,
Wow.
I made you and you're mine. I own you.
Sounds awful.
So
Never
yeah.
really.
Well, I mean, it's an interesting thing too with the Cheesecake Factory thing. There's a whole, I assume, there's a whole conversation about people's reaction to it, which would have a similar conversation about whether the video, regardless of whether the video is true or not,
Yeah.
because there'd be people that defend the guy, there'd be people that defend the girl,
Yeah.
and I'm assuming that's what you were kind of talking about.
Yeah. And then that too, that's why the video, it's not like the core narrative was not super reliant on that particular video being true. I had to drop I dropped Tiger King as well when that initially came out with the whole thing about Carol Baskin. I was going to talk about her situation, but it turns out all that was fake.
Right. Right.
They initially got Carol Baskin onto the show to be like, oh, she went on thinking that she was going to talk about wildlife rescues and how to and also mainly to promote a bill that would make it illegal to own tigers. And they deceptively edited the entire thing to make it look like she killed her husband and that she was basically the same as Joe Exotic, who pointed a loaded firearm at the cameraman and had a discharge in his direction. I don't know if people like realize that. there's because I was rewatching it, I was like, wait, because he's like messy, he's like pointing the gun at the camera, like let me do this cool shot for my little home video, and he accidentally misfires it into the air off of the side, but it's in the direction of the cameraman.
Right.
And there are people defending this guy's like, you could have killed that guy.
Almost Alec Baldwin him.
Yeah, basically.
So what was okay? So just for because I haven't seen the video, so I'm assuming what's going on. So the guy says, "I'm gonna take you to a fancy restaurant," and it turns out it's Cheesecake Factory.
Yeah.
And she gets very upset by this because like people can do like I guess there's an argument about is Cheesecake Factory like a fancy restaurant or not. And so what was the conversation around this drama?
Yeah, it really depends on the context. For a guy who's like he started out by saying, I'm going to take you to fine dining, which I think is very stupid to do on a first date, especially with someone you don't know. Like,
oh,
what
this is
does
the
that
first
mean?
date.
This is a first date. Yeah, so it's like
Okay,
I'm
you're
going
right.
to.
Why would you ever take someone fine dining to first date unless you're just trying to show off that you're like
Yeah,
legit or
basically he's leading
something?
with his wallet. So it's like if you're going
Right.
to do that, then like why would you go to Cheesecake Factory as a secondary date? That's like you basically just looked up fine dining restaurant on the internet, called the first one, and that's what you chose. And as a person who's been to fine dining before, Brittany and I walked into one day, just like, oh, let's just see what this is. Like, I've never been to fine dining before. Let's have some fun. One of the worst restaurant experiences I've ever had, and also cost a shitload of money. So,
Really?
yes.
What was the matter with it? Look, I've been to some fine dining places. It's not so bad.
Oh no, I'm sure there are, but you want to do your research first.
Oh yeah.
So the steak was $70. They sent it out to us, and it was improperly cooked. It was overcooked.
Oh,
So we had
wow.
to send it back, and then we finally got the actual steak, and it was horrible. Like
Right.
there's a place that's really close to us that's like one of those like video game restaurants that you can play like a little Super Nintendo and eat food. They have an $18 steak that is probably twice as good as the fine dining steak.
Wow.
Yeah, playing
So-
games. I mean, that seems like fine dining to me. That sounds
Yeah,
awesome.
that's true.
Well, the cool thing about this particular place is like it's like like you could remove the games from the restaurant. It'd be a fantastic restaurant. The food's all is there is really really good.
Mhm. That's
Um,
cool.
so the reason Cheesecake Factory in that case is wrong because it's like it's a very uncreative situation. The guy's like, this is where I go with my family and like stuff like that, where it's like, I mean, either do the fine dining situation or find some really like exclusive place like a cool local coffee shop that's somewhere that people wouldn't normally go. Like it's a very uncreative date in that case. And people got pissed off that I criticized him for that. I was like, yeah, but do you want to have boring dates every time you go out? You're gonna have to go out with this person for 30, 40, 50 years if you're going to marry them, and you want to always just go to the same restaurant over and over again.
They have a big menu.
Isn't that usually the sign of a
I'm
bad
just
restaurant?
kidding. Right. I mean,
I
if you're
get
gonna be
nervous when I
snooty
see
about it,
massive-
I guess.
Yeah, I get nervous when I see the 100 items on the menu. I've never had at this point never had good food from a menu that big.
I mean, Cheesecake Factory is decent. I don't have a problem with Cheesecake
It's
Factory.
good. Like I gave a comment, I was like, okay, so if you're going to a restaurant like that, isn't Cheesecake Factory like a little bit expensive for a chain restaurant?
Yes.
been a
It's
while
like
since
a
I've
yeah.
been.
It's
Cheesecake
like
Factory is not cheap at all.
it's like like a higher end chain restaurant, I guess. Maybe
Yeah.
you'd call it. Yeah.
So in my case, it's like, okay, well, if you're young and like you're not established in your career, that would be a definitely like a strong fine dining choice. Like that would be
Right.
like a very upscale restaurant for you. But
Right.
really, I don't think it's genuinely a good idea to lead with your wallet in cases of dating. Anyways, it's much better to be more and more creative and do things that are fun and interesting.
Mhm.
And then I told people how to do that, and like most people got it. And they're like, oh, okay. But there were a lot of people like, how dare you suggest that I go and research date ideas? Why can't you just be satisfied with Taco Bell?
What? These
Literally
people not
saying it.
understand like human interaction or something? Like
Yeah,
who's a comment
it's
like
very
that?
well, it's like they listen to content that tells them otherwise. So it's like
Mhm.
when you start listening to stuff like Fresh and Fit, you start to believe, well, why shouldn't I just take her to Taco Bell?
I mean, if you're got to be so fucking charismatic if you want to pull that. I mean, which you can, but I doubt someone that leave a comment like that would be that person.
Or you're going to get someone very plain, or you're going to get the girl that they don't want. Because as
Right.
much as they laugh at like super entitled women who's like a 3 out of 10, they think they're an 11. A lot of them have the same beliefs where it's like they deserve some chick who spends 3 hours a day on her appearance.
They're
And
taking you to Taco Bell.
yeah, and then also by the way, works a job because they're not traditional. As much as people say Main Street people are traditional, they're not traditional at all. Like they expect women to work. So which again, if you have that philosophy, I think it's fine. But I think it's really hypocritical if you're saying men should do this, but then the woman doesn't get the benefits of that, but you get the benefits from the woman.
Right. I mean, I was going to say, because like it's the irony, as you kind of point out, is it's incredibly entitled to think, oh, I can just take someone on a first date to fast food and they should just swoon all over me. It's like, I mean,
If you're a teenager, I think that's fine.
yeah, if you're
ice cream, fast
sure,
food.
but
I think even
I'm
if you're an
talking
adult,
about
coffee dates are
adults,
fine,
you know.
but probably not at Starbucks.
Well, there's a difference between a coffee date and like a dinner date.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't, as an adult, take a woman on a first date to a fast food restaurant.
I would never go to a fast food restaurant.
Well, there you go. But if you did and they looked at you kind of funny, I mean, that would make sense.
Sitch, how is this any different?
More so because I don't eat fast food.
Right.
How is this any different than telling a woman that you listen to Weird Al Yankovic on a first date? I'm like, I see a lot of parallels here.
Okay. How do you feel about Weird Al Yankovic? That's the real question.
I don't know. I listened to him when I was a kid.
When you were a child.
Listen.
Exactly.
When I was like 17.
Right. But you liked them, I assume, when you were 17, right?
Yeah, he had a couple good songs.
Fair enough. See, there you go. See, people that don't like Weird Al are just, they don't have souls, Adam. I don't know what to tell you. You're some kind of like
I'm soulless.
deviant,
I mean,
that's right.
psychopath.
My mom listened to him when she was younger too. So like,
there you go.
that's how long he's been in the industry.
Yeah, I'm listening. I'm not saying you got to listen. I'm not like, I don't listen to the guy every day. I'm just saying Adam actively doesn't like him. And it's very strange.
Yeah.
It's very strange to me. But okay. So people were mad at you because you were doing this video and they expected you to just like crap all over the woman. And you were saying, no, look, the guy screwed up in here, here, and here.
Yeah, there was one nuance I fucked up on. This is where it's like, okay, maybe I should have. I kind of assumed the audience knew too much about the situation. Where it's like, oh, I've watched the interviews, I've watched all the stuff around it. Where it's like, okay, in this case, this piece of advice would apply. Where she was an hour late to the date, and they had
that's pretty bad.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. But he had set it up to where it's like her excuse for being late to the date was, oh, I got off of work late, and she had told him that she was off work late. So that means basically when he was set to get there at 4 p.m., she was just starting to get ready. And I don't know chicks who get ready in 5 minutes who look good. So
hold a second. Look, that's a thing with women, right? That's universal.
As far as I mean, women who are dressing well and stuff like that.
Yes.
Right. I know you I've heard you complain about it a bunch of times. So I know you agree.
Yeah, obviously. Look, and look, not even dressing up. It could just be like shorts and a t-shirt, and it's like, what's going on here? We're like 3 hours into this.
But it has to be the right shorts and t-shirt.
Of course. Oh, there you go. That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah. So continue. Go ahead.
So my nuance to that was that, yeah, of course, like if there's no excuse, that's incredibly insulting for a first date to be an hour late. Like he should have either rescheduled or left and be like, this is not worth my time, or rescheduled. But he had communicated that he accepted that she was going to be late because he showed up to her place and stayed there. And then and what I did instead was like, okay, well, if you're going to say this is okay, here's how you solve this problem of, we had a reservation at 5. You could either want to meet at the restaurant. I don't know why the fuck they didn't meet at the restaurant in this example. I guess that was kind of a part of it was fake so they can create drama because they're not meeting there.
Right.
So had that, if you wanted to continue the date under the circumstances, here's what you could have done. Or preferably, why did you schedule the date right after she gets off of work? It just seems like you should have just gone for like an hour after that, in case there was traffic, which is pretty reasonable. She didn't have to get off work late. There could have been a car accident that took an extra hour to get around. So under that circumstance where it wasn't nuanced, where yeah, in this case he should have left, but because he accepted the hour lateness, here's what could have been done. And
so I don't understand. What were people were mad that you said that he fucked up here?
Or yeah, I mean, I try to say, like, if he's trying to get someone who is quality, not someone who just does whatever, here's how you plan good dates. Here's how you nuance the conversation. Like, why are you meeting at her apartment and asking to walk in? That's very non-traditional.
Yeah, on a first date, that's kind of weird.
Yeah, like if you want someone who's more promiscuous, if you're doing that. Also, I kind of forgot. So things like that, where it's like, obviously most of the criticism is going to be levied on her because she's the more wrong party. But if you don't want chicks who will do that to you, here's how you act differently.
Right. Okay. And then with her, obviously, so they drive to the place. She gets upset And what happens? Because I haven't seen the video when she gets
Gets upset and pulls out her camera and starts filming the event without his knowledge.
Ooh, okay. So that's a huge major strike.
Which again is very believable. I mean, we just had 6 months ago, girls in the gym were filming random strangers and then calling them sexual predators.
Right.
So it's like, again, why wouldn't you believe that?
Yeah.
Is that still going on? I feel like it is. I feel like I see one of those every day now.
Really? Jeez.
Yeah.
Time for another video on it. Thanks.
Well, see, but now they're so popular as a genre. Who knows how many of them are even real at this point?
Yeah, it's now it's like there was a video I got that got posted on Brittany's timeline where a girl was yelling at another girl for parking next to her boyfriend's car. And I was like, after this Cheesecake Factory thing, that shit's fake. And then it turns out later the video ended up being fake.
That's like, oh my God. It's going to be funny. People are going to start going to Chat GPT and saying like, what's a good fake viral video I can make? There's going to be a million of these ideas.
Well, the problem is if you're going for only viral videos and you're asking Chat GPT for that, you're only going to have one video and that's it. So you're not going to really be a content creator at that point. You have to be able to
regulate
content that gets views.
You just listen. And if you use Chat GPT, you just keep hitting refresh. It'll keep coming up with new ideas. Okay. I'll keep coming up with a million of them.
But that happens all the time where if someone did this viral hit and doesn't know how to repeat their success and then they just die out.
Sure. That's where Chat GPT comes. So, so yeah, I mean, it sounds like obviously, but it's fake, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, I mean, the woman's completely wrong, filming the guy. Like, and even if he did all these things that are wrong, you could still, you don't have to be a bitch about it and yell at him.
Here's how to communicate more reasonably. You could have just said, I'm not really a fan of Cheesecake Factory. Is there somewhere else we can go?
Sure. Or just go there and enjoy the meal. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess you could. It really depends.
Right. Okay.
So you did one of these videos on Nightmare Kitchen and you ended up not publishing that? That was the one that you lost? Kitchen Nightmares? You lost a week on that.
Yeah.
But this one you did publish.
So I didn't find out it was fake until after I published it.
Right. And you're going to leave it up obviously because there's value there beyond it just being fake.
Yes. The unfortunate part about it being not real is people are going to ignore all the other shit that was in the video because of that.
Right. They're just going to go, it's fake. I got to admit, a little bit knowing the story is fake just makes me think ignore.
Yeah.
Well,
basically. And it's the problem is that these are clips I can never use again, like that Donovan Sharp clip where he's just insulting his wife the whole time. Fresh and Fit clips where they're saying you should be able to cheat on your partner, and that's going to be a high value relationship, and giving all kinds of excuses for it. It's like, first off, it started out like, because if you want to nuance Fresh and Fit, they'll say, okay, well, here's what's going to happen. If you're going to date a rich guy who's a multimillionaire, they're probably going to cheat. Just accept that. Which is like, yeah, it's not the greatest advice, but okay, maybe people should be more realistic in that terminology, because a lot of people who are rich are really sociopathic. Then it turned into the clip I showed in my video where it's like, guys just have to like do all this work to be even seen as attractive. Therefore, they should be able to cheat whenever they want, but women shouldn't be able to cheat. Ignoring
that's a real fresh and fit clip.
Yes.
I mean, that seems logical at least.
Well, they ignore like how much time women spend on fashion, how much time they spend on their hair, how much time they spend on it's like women spend infinitely more time on being attractive, and like all the women who don't, you don't notice them. I put Just Pearly Things as an example in that video where it's like she constantly had these videos before she got air quote famous, because her channel doesn't do very well. Where she would make like, I was always second choice, people just ignored me, they just wanted my friends who are more attractive. So the girls, there are girls who have that same sort of demeanor. You just don't notice them. You just don't notice the ones who take care of themselves. You're only looking at the ones who do.
Has Pearl stopped taking care of herself since she's like, quote, YouTube famous?
No, seems like she's trying, but she still does the same things that are like her hair is like always unwashed and not brushed. It's always flat to her head. She's wearing outfits that are the wrong color.
Brittany made a video. One of the videos I've watched of hers is like giving Pearl like beauty tips that seemed very useful, very practical. I was like, oh, this is good.
Yeah, the whole point is to make fun of the person, but also be useful with it. It's infotainment.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Or only to go hire like a fashion person to go help her out.
Yeah, well, no, that fashion person clearly did not know what he was doing.
She hired a terrible fashion person.
Where it's like, Like I'm not like super into fashion. I can instantly tell all the outfits he picked out looked awful on her. Like I couldn't tell you like what she needed. Like I couldn't sit there like Brittany and be like, oh, she's a pear shape. She needs to do blah 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 blah. Wear
Right.
these specific colors and just like look at a chart and say, here's what you wear. Couldn't do any of that. But you could instantly tell the outfits were terrible.
Or should just hire Brittany.
Maybe. You would think because she's well, you
reach out.
There are videos of her like where you see like a look at her family, and none of her family has self-care. They all look like they don't shower. So it's like you make so much money. Just pay someone to solve this problem for you. Like you're all multimillionaires. You live in a huge house. You have apparently endless amounts of money because they can fund Pearl despite her channel not getting views. I mean,
maybe that's why they don't have self-care, is because they're just so like rich and detached from like life. I guess they can get away with it.
Maybe, but Brittany wasn't the only person who was pointing that stuff out.
Like, I mean,
her point was like a lot of people are pointing that out. Well, obviously they probably shower, but she's like not washing her hair properly, using the proper products, or brushing it, or maintaining it, or styling it in the appropriate way.
Right. Okay, fair enough.
Pearl's one of the fastest. Someone said in the comments, Pearl's one of the fastest growing YouTubers. Yeah, because she abuses the Shorts algorithm. If you look at her live streams, if you look at her actual videos, none of them really get any views. She
just
barely
the Shorts get views.
Oh yeah, her Shorts get a lot of views.
Like
an insane amount.
I can use your name, right? I can't remember if it was okay if I use your name.
Oh yeah, it's Sean.
Sean, yeah, that's okay, cool. Yeah, Sean, you really know a lot about this YouTube stuff. Sitch and I argue about this stuff all the time behind the scenes. Like we should, work out a 3-way call or something. You can school us.
You want some live advice now?
Well, I mean, I don't know
if anyone cares to hear about shop talk, but
yeah.
I mean,
look, if you want to come on a Tuesday stream and talk about it when we're just, shooting the shit, definitely do. Yeah.
Someone said she buys views. She would be getting more views if she bought views.
That's like what is why would someone buy views? You don't get advertising dollars when you buy views, right? Or
I mean, in the past it would make more sense because advertisers were more willing to pay a lot of money.
Oh yeah, and you do sponsors.
I mean, I've heard about people who are older YouTubers and what the ad deals they used to get, and they used to get shitloads of money for just like 10,000 views.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so before the economic crash, you still get paid pretty decently. So it makes sense to lie about your views so you can get a little bit of money from ad revenue. But now ad companies are paying nothing. So it's like, why even do ads?
Brittany's in the chat. What's up, Brittany?
LOL.
So let's talk about gender roles.
Yes.
Gender roles.
Yeah.
What is do you subscribe to strict gender roles? Are you a communist for gender roles? No gender roles? What's going on here?
So before I say that, I do want to clarify, like, if people think differently, they can do what they want. I often get like it's shoebox or whatever. The people like box me into this thing where it's like, I think this way, therefore everybody should act that way. I don't think everybody should act the way I do.
Wow, you're a fence-sitting centrist. I want you to make a strong prescription and demand that everyone has to follow it.
Yeah, like people were like, oh no, he's more centrist now. I was like, isn't what people were asking for? Have a fair and nuanced take that actually helps people. Again, if they think of it this way with the Cheesecake Factory thing, if I just shit on the girl in the green dress who didn't want to go to Cheesecake Factory, the guy doesn't improve. He just gets to laugh for 5 seconds about how much of a bitch this girl was. And then he goes back to being a loser who can't get a
Self-improvement's
date.
hard, though. I want to just laugh at someone and make me feel momentarily better about my own life.
You can read like Machiavellian books where it's like, don't actually help people. Just make them think you're helping them and make it a cult. Because here's the truth: that self-improvement is actually very hard and takes a ton of years, and nobody really wants to do it. Therefore, just lie to people and make money and print money off of them.
True.
So I could do that. I mean, Fresh and Fit certainly do that. There are a lot of YouTubers who certainly do that. But to answer the question about gender roles, so yeah, we're pretty strict about that in this case.
Well, look on what we're talking about. So it does seem like you are interested in helping people maybe get a decent relationship, and it seems like the red pill is kind of, they give lip service to kind of doing that, right?
But they don't do it. None of them do it.
Right. They pitch themselves as self-improvement.
Well, it's hard to say. Like, I mean, I've watched a lot of the red pillars in question quite a bit, and they barely offer self-help advice that actually is helpful. They can say things like work hard, okay, but where's the specific advice in that? If I'm some loser who lives in his mother's basement and can't handle more than an hour of work, how do I go from that to working an 8-hour shift? A lot of people don't know how to make that transition.
Right. Yeah.
So without any sort of practical advice, people just think this is too overwhelming. How am I supposed to do this? And they just do nothing.
Right.
So I can say things like have good fashion, but what the fuck does that mean? Because I mean that's not important just for relationships. It's important for every interaction that you have. How are you supposed to get a job if you dress like a homeless person?
Right.
How are you supposed to get, I mean, you're going to be a lot more likely to get a high level job, like where you're getting paid 60, 70, 80,000, $100,000 a year if you can dress well. Because people are very superficial and they're going to make most of the decision whether they like you or not based on the first things they see.
No, I've listened to a ton of your videos, and you're always giving good, sound, practical advice that I tend to agree with, but I know people will mischaracterize as like right wing.
Well, it really depends. Like I recently watched a person, I guess he's on the left. I don't think he's a full-on leftist, but it's like I watched a video. He reacted to a Noah Sampson video of mine. I was like, God, these takes are horrendous. Where he does the Hassan or Bosch thing, where he like didn't pre-watch the video. So he's saying things that I addressed 10 minutes later. He's like, he won't talk about this. He won't talk about the study. He's like, dude, I talk about the study in 5 minutes. I'm building up. I'm trying to say this study is a big deal. Noah's building it up a lot. Oh shit, it's the wrong study. That's why that has effect. It's because of the buildup. It's if I start the video out with a 10 seconds in, it was the wrong study, then nobody cares. That's terrible writing.
Yeah.
So he was one of those guys. But also when you looked at a different video where it's like, oh, okay, he starts up this, here's what I think about this, and he sees me saying, here's what we think the same things. He's like, oh, okay, we'll give you credit for that. Versus someone like, let's say like Hassan will never give you credit for agreeing with them.
Well, there's so much partisanship that goes on. I do think, like what you were saying is practical advice about fashion. Like fashion does make an impression on people, both in professional life and in your personal life. But I could see someone on the left spinning that to like, oh man, people don't have money. They're poor. They can't do this. And you're putting them at a disadvantage just because you're explaining, well, this is how life works. It doesn't necessarily, it's not prescriptive. It's descriptive.
Yeah, and probably the best thing about that is that most of the fashion tips and behavioral tips that you need to be attractive are free.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Most
YouTube is a great resource.
No, I'm saying like most of the changes that you would make. So I don't know if you watched this video, but there was a video I did about a guy named Alex who talked to Dr. K, and he spent $8,000 on pickup artists, which seems like an incredible waste of money.
Wasted money. Like, yes, you could have an amazing wardrobe for that much.
Like
money.
These pickup, I don't. One of the old ones, Real Social Dynamics. Do you know about those guys?
I haven't heard of them. No.
They would charge you $3,000. I guess they got. I mean, one of them was like a sex offender.
Wow.
Not. I don't think like legally, but like he was like doing some really shady shit. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I know his name was RSD Julian.
We had Rolo on one time, and I tried to get him back on again because Brittany and Lauren Southern did that little troll on him, but we couldn't get him back on. So.
Oh no, because you guys have Mahler on. Are you guys? Do you guys know the Geeks and Gamers people?
Yeah. We don't know them, but we know.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, because Rolo might associate you with them, and now Rolo hates them because he was a big fan. That turns out that a lot of them don't like him, so it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
So there was Real Social Dynamics used to charge like $3,000 for a 2-day PUA course. And I'm just thinking like all the things that you could do that you would do first before you would learn pickup artistry are way cheaper. So the person who was in the Dr. K video, Alex, had probably a horde of mental health issues. $3,000 would get him, say it's $100 a session, 30 weeks. Or, if it's twice a week, it's 3 months. If it's once a week, it's 6 months of therapy. Would be much more useful than a weekend PUA course. Mm-hmm. Also much more useful, probably would do a lot more for making him more attractive. He had so many speaking issues. It was insane. To where it's like slurred speech, poor enunciation. He does like weird things with his mouth and lips and stuff like that would immediately put someone off. So spending $3,000 on speech therapy would be much more effective than taking any PUA course. And it also would help him get jobs versus a PUA course is just going to teach you how to walk up to women and say you're attractive and then fail because he didn't actually learn anything from them.
Right.
So,
yeah.
so that kind of stuff. I mean, you could learn that stuff on YouTube for free if you didn't have the money. Alex clearly did have the money. It seemed like he was, his parents were probably pretty well off. So in that case, but even in the smaller case, so certainly if you're trying to, if you don't have a lot of money, you're trying to save money, then obviously you want to be as knowledgeable about the stuff before you make your first purchase. And a lot of people don't even know the categories they should be looking in to find what's attractive. You can know for a guy it's jeans and t-shirt, but what types of t-shirts do you wear? Your face shape matters, your shoulder shape matters. So you could spend, let's say, a ton of money on like a crew neck when you should actually be wearing a Henley top because that's going to look more attractive for you.
What determines the difference?
I know. I'm thinking. Look, I've bought literally like thousands of T-shirts, and I never knew this.
Is Adam wearing the correct T-shirt for his frame?
Okay, so if you're in a place where people are either very, very far behind developmentally, or they want to be very, very far ahead developmentally, like this is someone who, let's say, they're already dressed well and they're looking for the next step. Well, here's how you determine all the next steps. Fashion is very, very well, at least until you get to the highest levels, is very, very well planned out. It's very, very easy to find out what you should be wearing. If you So, but if you're very, very developmentally behind, a lot of the stuff has to be very specifically explained to you because they're not going to know, well, hey, colors matter, and here's how you pick correct colors. Shape of the outfit matters. Here's how you pick correct shape. So they need to be boosting their fashion to make up for other developmental problems that they have. Because even if, well, because like,
so you're saying my good looks is like my brute force, even though my T-shirt is completely wrong.
Basically, well, it's like you go from having average stats to one maxed out stat, and you're going to do better with one maxed out stat as opposed to a bunch of average or below average stats, and that's going to even you out so that you don't have to wait 10 years before you can find a relationship. Because a lot of these changes are going to take 5 to 10 years to make.
How developmentally disabled is Adam with his outfit?
That's the question for Brittany. I know how to dress well from me. That's it.
Brittany, you're in the chat. You can look. You can weigh in. Look, actually, I take that back. Brittany, please do not type.
She's gonna be like, graphic tee, very tacky.
Please do not type in the chat.
She's gonna get mad at you for having the correct skin tone to wear black, though. So don't ask her.
Oh, okay. Really?
You don't have the correct skin tone?
She Adam does, but Brittany doesn't. Because you can see
okay.
part of the way you see that, where it's like if I notice your outfit before I notice your face, it's the wrong color.
Okay. You're dating Brittany, right? Brittany's.
Yeah.
Okay. Brittany is pretty cool. Content creator. She has I am an artist. I draw people. And Brittany has that amazing look that I really like, where her eyes are just a little bit far apart. I think she's commented on it before, so I don't think she's embarrassed about it.
Yeah.
Oh, Brittany says, I'd
be wearing a lighter or warmer color.
Oh, if that was me? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, finally someone's not calling me Destiny. They're saying, what if alt hist? I think you had him on like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, we're gonna have him on after you too again. So.
Yes, yeah.
People call you Destiny?
Yeah, because it was like I could never debate Destiny because we sound too similar.
I guess a little bit. Yeah, I can see it. Yeah. Okay, sure.
That really depends. I sound less like him the more natural my voice gets. It really depends.
Okay.
I don't think you sound anything like him, but.
Oh, well, in videos I do more because I just haven't figured out how to correctly project into a video with a script and also sound more like I actually sound.
I feel like I have the exact same problem. That when I would be reading something off a script, it just sounds so different than just me talking right now.
Destiny has a meeker voice, I guess.
Yeah, your voice is much deeper, but enough about Destiny's voice. This is sounding a little gay, so.
No, all the fashion talk, it was the non-gay part.
So back to, look, it seems like I'm doing okay. Brittany says wear some lighter colors, but I just feel funny in light colors, so.
I think you look good in pinks. You should get a big pink dress.
Yeah,
Let's try that.
salmon would do well for you.
There you go. Yeah.
All right, I'll be right back, guys.
No.
I'm just kidding. Let's get back to the strict gender roles. So you said you're in favor of strict gender roles for you personally.
Yeah, and for a certain side of the population, I think it would generally be better if more people were like that. But the problem is that we have a shitty economy, a shitty
Mhm.
economy. So it's like, how realistic is this?
Mhm.
Because I mean, if you let's say on the something I've said about in like fat acceptance videos or videos where I'm talking about weight loss, you'll notice that people who are in these spaces where they grew up fat as a kid or they're fat as adults, they either don't have time or their parents are didn't learn how to cook from their parents, so they end up just eating processed junk food. And if you because I think a lot of these people haven't had actual good home cooked meals, and so when you don't have actually good home cooked foods, what you'll end up doing is eating lots of high calorie processed crap to make up for the fat to get the stimulation that you would get from a well planned meal. So you have a lot less time to do that if both parents are working, because you're going to get off your 8 hour shift and then you're going to go home and do chores and go to sleep and have a little bit of interaction with your kids. And then even in that case, when you have less time to interact with your kids because you're at work or because when you get home you have to do chores, your kids actually don't end up connecting you with you as much. They don't respect you as much, and then they won't if they're going through something in their life, they're not going to listen to you as much as someone who was a stay-at-home parent.
Do you
So
think the stay-at-home parent has to be the mom, or is it just one stay-at-home parent?
I think in general it's going to be, but it doesn't have to be.
Well,
Look
because
at
like we say
this.
strict gender roles, like
That's
what
quite
exactly
the
does
opposite
that
of
mean?
strict
Yeah,
gender
because that'd be
roles, right?
not
Oh,
strict
okay.
gender, right?
So in my case, I would think that I mean I wouldn't be a stay-at-home dad. I like working. So
Right.
so you could have that. It just generally that's not what happens. Generally, it's women who want to stay home, and generally it's men who want to work. That's not to say you can't flip it around, but it probably won't be like a where they do gaming industry. It's not going to be a 50-50 situation where there's 50% stay-at-home dads and 50% stay-at-home moms. It's probably going to be more like a 90-10 or a 95-5.
Yeah, no, I mean I agree, but we've had conversations with people who argue that there should be none, that the person that does that or that society advocating for the acceptance of men staying at home is going to cause some kind of problem.
Like what? Is it better that other people raise your kids? And you subject them to higher likelihood of abuse and stuff like that. Like I know a lot of the woke people are recommending like community homes, and this is like you're gonna put your kid in basically like an orphanage.
Well, usually, I mean, I would imagine that usually when I hear them argue this, I mean, they've argued to us, they're arguing it versus the woman staying home. They're not arguing it versus a stranger taking care of their kid.
Well, what would a community home be then? I mean, even in the case where it's like if you're a child predator, what easier thing to do than instead of people taking care of their own kids, they're all in the same place. It just sounds
No,
like
right.
you'd have better opportunity to get at more than one kid.
Right.
And considering
No,
that those penalties are pretty light for child predators, that like I think it would just encourage it.
Well, do you think that society is harming men and women by not teaching them classical strict gender rules?
And like you mean like how to fix things, how to cook and clean, how to
Like
work
that a
hard?
man should, that to be a man means that you're going to do X, Y, Z, and to be a woman means that you're going to stay at home and, make
I
food.
think
Like, do you
I
think
think
that?
society as a whole will suffer from that because these are generally things that people want. They're like a natural attraction thing, whereas some people will fall and be an outlier. But just because someone's an outlier doesn't mean that the general society should follow that. And I think that's kind of a problem that the radical left has is that they'll say this one outlier exists, therefore the whole system should change.
Right. So, okay, because I mean, you seem to not really have a strict view on this at all. You seem to be pretty, like, you just do what works for you approach.
Well, like I said, in general, in my personal life, I insist on gender roles. I think for society, more people should do it, but I don't think that should be the only option. I think that'd be kind of authoritarian to suggest that everybody has to live like I live. It's kind of the problem I have with woke people that they're doing that. They're saying everybody has to do these things or else.
So, when you say that you insist on gender rules, is it just about working, or is there some other elements here?
Working, being masculine, being the leader, What's the fixing things?
So like being the leader is like, listen, I'm determining where we go to eat tonight. Like what is like what does that mean?
It can be that. So sometimes it's nice if somebody else picks, and having to pick every single time is kind of annoying. But like,
And
yeah,
I
generally stuff
listen,
like that.
we've all been through the plight of asking a woman where she wants to eat, so I get it, right? Like I understand the feeling.
Yeah.
Sometimes you gotta just take
I don't
charge.
know. Followed by you give a suggestion. No, I don't want that.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
That's why TikTok is so great. TikTok has so many recommendations for good places. Like you
Really?
never think that there's all these places that are like even out in the middle of nowhere that there's a ton of fun places to go to.
Hmm.
What is the appropriate time for courtship before asking a woman to marry you?
It depends on your age. If you're younger, whatever, who gives a shit? If you're younger, you've got tons of time. So if a relationship when you're 17 lasts for 3 years,
Mhm.
you're not going to suffer any sort of major life consequences. But I would say if you're
Well, it
22,
does matter if it's like 2 weeks. Obviously, that's probably not. That's probably going in the wrong direction, right? That's
yeah,
probably inappropriate in the other direction.
yeah. But in the what I would personally recommend is if you're 25 for guys, 22 for women is about the time people are ready to get married or responsible enough and mature enough in this society to get married. Because people are like, well, people used to get married at 15 or whatever. That's probably a little too young, but like people used to get married a lot younger when my parents were younger or when my parents were getting married. But in today's society, I think it's about 25 for men, 22 for women. I would say probably about a year.
1 year of courtship and then popping the question.
Yeah, because otherwise you get people in these relationships where they're in their mid 20s and it's lasted 6 years. Well, then if that relationship fails, that's it. Like if you're a woman, you want to start having kids or you're doing a new relationship that and your goal is to have kids. Now you're 31, you're getting pretty up there, and it's like you're going to spend another year on courtship, another year on marriage and learning how to run a household together, and then like by the time you get to the point where you can have a child, you're 33 or 34.
Right. I do
So
feel
if
like women, when they're getting close to 30 and they've never been married, I do feel like they have that I need to be married. I need to get married kind of clock ticking. I've seen that in friends and whatnot. So,
Yeah, because they have a lot less leeway than men do because they have a certain amount of time. If they want to have a child, they can't have it after a certain age. Whereas a guy, people were saying there's some research where it's like if you're 60 or 70, probably not the best thing to be having children as a guy. I don't know if that's real or not, but let's pretend it is for the sake of argument. A guy has probably about 10 extra years
right.
versus he can get a woman of the age that he wants. So there's a lot of time to mess up. Whereas women, they're a lot they get more in the beginning, but they have less time to work with.
Right. A lot of women are having babies older too, obviously, but like in Los Angeles, they're all doing IVF. So they're they're having them older because we have this technology now that allows that to actually happen.
That technology isn't 100%. I think it's actually the success rate of it is fairly low. You have to do it a lot, and it's also very,
Yes,
very
it is.
expensive.
Yeah, it
And
is.
um, I'm not sure if they extract the eggs in the same way that they extract them through like when you donate eggs, but even the egg donation process is not exactly the safest thing. There's a reason you get paid a lot of money for doing it.
Right.
So there's always going to be risks and consequences to doing things unnaturally. So I
Yeah.
don't necessarily think people should be having kids that late. Plus, you have less time with your kids if you're having them when you're 40. If you can even have a kid without miscarrying at 40. So generally, people should be having them younger, not in their late 30s as their first child.
So a lot of people say that the internet has kind of destroyed traditional dating. Do you agree with that assessment? What is your take?
I think it was gone before that. I mean, traditional dating's been gone for a while. And this may have only been like a small point in time where we had maybe traditional idealistic dating where women didn't necessarily have to work so they could stay home with the kids and men could just focus on their careers because they didn't have to do chores. So you were able to make more money. We had a better economy where you didn't have to have these ridiculously high level skills to make to survive on a single income because a house wasn't $1 million. A house was, I don't know, maybe $100,000 in today's money.
So
So
it's the economics that have really
Yes. Yeah, you
sort of
can
change
really
that.
screw traditionalism by just fucking the economy and making it harder for even in this case where it's like, okay, there was a negative reaction to traditionalism, which is like, and we put a bunch of laws in place to prevent that, where women were getting trapped in relationships that they didn't like and they couldn't leave because they had no money. Well, that's certainly a concern to worry about, but would it be as much of a concern if we had communities around us where, yeah, if she has a bad relationship, she can stay with a friend for a while until she can get on her feet. But let's say a house isn't even that expensive, so she can work a low wage job and still afford a place to live, even if it's a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment, or God, the 1 or 2 bedroom apartment in California is like what, $2,400 these days or something like that, something ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
But she can go to a place where it's like you could work a low wage job and still have a place to live, versus you now that's not really the case, at least in some of the more popular states. I think it's becoming a lot less the case in Texas. Texas economy is really inflated.
Do you think it's weird that so like just to broadly give the label, when we're talking about like traditional dating, traditional values, generally that gets associated with the right and the conservatives in America. And do you think it's weird that socially the right and the conservatives would generally want to have this more kind of traditional setup, but like the man, providing for the woman and all this other stuff. And as you rightfully point out, the economic situation doesn't really match that anymore. But it also seems like it was the right that kind of destroyed that economic situation kind of going forward from the 80s.
How did they destroy it? This is
Was sort
something I
of
would generally not be that knowledgeable about. This is starting to hit politics.
Well, it was kind of like basically, you had from the 30s to the late 70s, you had a huge focus on giving labor power and keeping unemployment down, and that's kind of what that combined with obviously the fallout of World War II, kind of created a situation where labor in America had a lot of power, and that's kind of how you got the situation where you had an American worker who didn't have a college education could provide for a family with a not necessarily a college degree job. And that kind of created a situation where as labor kind of got more and more expensive, that obviously over time starts to create inflation. And you have this kind of inflation bubble kind of create like building up over time. Because in the 70s, well, when my parents bought a house, even though their house was, very cheap considered by today's standard, the interest rate was like astronomically high. It was like 20% or something compared to, what it would be today. Mm. And so the inflation rate just kind of spiraled out of control. And then this, you have the oil embargo that takes place in the late 70s under Carter. And
You're saying there was a labor shortage in that case?
Well, there wasn't a labor shortage. The inflation was caused by the opposite. The labor had so much power that it could just demand a price raise constantly. And then like basically what happened would be the labor would say, I want to get paid X. And then that would cause inflation to go up. And then labor would say, hey, inflation just went up. I want a pay raise. And then that would just keep, going on top of itself, going on top of itself, going on top of itself. Then you have the oil embargo increases that inflation dramatically. And then that spirals out of control. Jimmy Carter, loses the election handily to Reagan. Reagan's like, okay, we're doing sort of the, neoconservative, neoliberal economic policy, and all the jobs are going to get shipped overseas, and we're going to cut, costs for everything. And labor just starts, losing power drastically after that point.
Yeah. So, I guess you can look at it in terms of which society has more wealth or which society has better mental health, because I think wealth is not necessarily the only determinant of the health of society.
Right.
Just because you have lots of things doesn't mean you're happy, or doesn't mean you're, let's say, not happy, let's say fulfilled.
Well, it's interesting. I think that not only is sort of the modern structure of our economy and our society making people unhappy. I mean, I speculate, and I'm curious as you're taking this because you're very into eating healthy. I speculate that there's something that we're ingesting that is making people significantly more anxious that's not really being talked about.
I mean, you can say things like that in general. This is something I have to script. There's a lot of things that go into this. People want to talk about weight loss where they say, oh, these extra chemicals in the food are making us more addicted, and they make us want to eat more, and therefore the chemicals are the problem. Whereas you can remove all those chemicals and take a low quality food, put a shitload of sugar, salt, and fat into it, and you'll be addicted to it anyway. now with the extra chemicals, you're just more addicted to it. So until you resolve the initial problem of the base chemicals that are on the surface, you're not going to really resolve, like, it doesn't really matter about all those excess chemicals. I think the excess chemicals are more so for like allergic reactions or very, very long-term issues.
I've
So
heard people say that like there's this claim that gluten now in America is different than it used to be, and that's causing all these problems. Do you know anything about that?
it might cause allergies, but in terms of like in terms of it causing weight gain, in terms of causing anxiety, well, you can think of it from this perspective. If you're fat as a kid and you get made fun of, you're going to have a lot of anxiety going into adulthood.
Right.
So is it some random chemical that you can't pronounce, or is it being overweight as a kid? Is that what we should be? Because like everybody wants to go for the easy thing. Oh, just ban this and the problem's solved. Well, it's not going to be solved because you didn't solve the problem.
Right.
And
So
certainly,
you're saying you think just the environment or just the eating habits are just become toxic as culture, and culturally is really the problem.
that'd be one aspect of it. And so it's like for things to go very, very wrong, you need a lot of different things causing it. So I think what happens is that people think, oh, there's this one root cause, when it's actually like 7 or 8 root causes to these problems. So it's like, okay, let's say you got made fun of as a kid for being fat, but you had good parents who taught you good values, and one day when you were 14, everybody decided to get healthier. You all got healthy, and now you're an adult. Now you still have good communication skills, and you're fine. Versus like, you're in a situation where you don't have a good household structure. Your parents are abusive. And so not only you get made fun of at school, but now you're getting bullied by your parents. Now you're 21. Now you have no confidence whatsoever. And you're screwed. And then it's probably three more things that are causing your problem that are hard to get rid of, that are making that problem more difficult to solve. So that's what I tend to think it is. It's if you're going to isolate it down to one thing, you're probably not going to find a more correct answer.
Right. So you said is kind of you're not that interested in like politics.
I'm interested in politics to an extent, but like not to the extent where I feel comfortable doing like very intense political conversations in front of people who are have a much higher expertise than me.
That's smart.
Sure,
that's
but yeah, I mean
smart.
that's just like
I'm not as bad as JonTron, but JonTron clearly, when he debated Destiny, was not in his element. That was a very bad move from him. So if I'm just talking with friends and family, that yeah, we can have a political conversation. But if I'm talking with people who are like really, really know what's going on and have all the history behind them and all know exactly how things work in every single political system, or whatever, or at least more intricately than I do, then it's not really fair to the person watching to hear low-level commentary. Like, it's really rude to the audience.
Look, I think the audience kind of likes that stuff, to be honest.
Yeah, because they like the owns. Like, everybody likes Hassan saying stupid shit because then it's easy to make fun of them. But like,
we're not here to make you look bad at all. Like, that's not. Look, our show is really, we try to really examine deep things from a lot of different perspectives, and I mean, we're kind of not afraid to get it wrong, trying to figure something out. But I mean, I totally respect your perspective, obviously.
Well, what I don't want to do is do what Hassan does, where it's like we spent like, I was here for 4 hours. He's like giving a solution to unfair labor markets with a democratic company, and he couldn't explain how to hire somebody.
Right. Yes,
so it's like
exactly.
Because I'm not as politically knowledgeable, but let's say okay, I know how things work, but I don't know everything that's been tried and worked and everything that hasn't been tried and not worked. Just not having that prior knowledge of things that people have experienced will cause me to give lower quality answers. So what I'll do is I'll start saying things that, oh, here what seems like a good idea, versus like,
just
you might know
intuition.
We tried that already. Actually, it was actually horrible. So now I know some of those, and I'm a lot better at that stuff culturally. I'm a lot better at that stuff in terms of like fitness and psychology, stuff like that, where my actual area of expertise is. But in terms of politics, it just seems like I could end up accidentally recommending things that are very, very, very bad for society, and especially as your following gets bigger and bigger, it's very irresponsible to do that.
Yeah,
because like, let's say I recommend something very bad, the video gets 2 million views, and now people are starting to think things like that more in general.
I know. So many of these bad ideas. Look, I've heard a million times people say Jordan Peterson makes descriptive claims, but he doesn't make normative claims. And I know it all began with Destiny. And it's just like the guy published a book called 12 Rules for Life, which are obviously normative claims, like moral claims. It's just so insane that people believe some of the stuff that they believe.
Yeah, because they're not doing research on it. And of course, there's a negative to that where it's a lot more work. I mean, a lot of people just they want to do their personality and make fun of their opponent and then get the views, get the money, and then end their day. But if you're going to do due diligence and pre-watch things or do actual research into things, then that's
You
going to
come
take a lot.
across, Sean, as a person who really cares about truth and doing right by people.
I do, and even if you do care, you still get a lot of things wrong. So
Yeah.
it's like,
Of course.
and then the more frustrating thing is you see all the people who know they're getting things wrong and don't care, and they just print money.
Yeah.
Oh, of course, Hassan is a perfect example of this.
Yeah, it's like, then it's like people are like, well, why do people act like this? Well, of course they act like that because it's easy. Because being actually correct about things and humbling yourself when you're wrong or doing the right thing under a very stressful situation, like dropping a video that you did a week of work on, and having to do that multiple times.
Yeah, most people wouldn't do that.
Yeah, they're not going to do that.
No.
I mean, there are tons of people who knew the Cheesecake Factory video was fake. Did any of them take the video down? No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, this is interesting because I would consider that, even though you're doing it from selected areas that you're very knowledgeable about, like psychology and health and fitness, I mean, I would still call the videos still seem political to me. Like it still has a political angle to them.
Yeah, they edge on politics, but not fully. I mean, I can tell that it's not fully because people who are on the left can't tell that I'm conservative or at least have more traditional values. It's harder for them to tell. They ask a lot, so it means I'm centering enough to make myself more ambiguous, so that people who are just looking at the arguments or more so looking at the arguments versus what political side I'm on.
I mean, that's a good approach.
Which is why I don't announce it in videos.
Right. Ideally, that would be good if that was everyone or more people, not everyone, but more people were in that kind of like, what exactly, can I easily put them in a left-right box and you just don't know because what they're saying.
Yeah, and then you're working on preconceived notions. Therefore, this person is in this box, and here's all the things that you're supposed to think about them. Let's shut on them for that.
Right.
Versus actually providing nuance and stuff like that and trying to say, the more difficult thing is that oftentimes to provide nuance and not get hit by your own biases, you have to sit there and watch videos multiple times. Where it's like, I'll think something was said one way, it was actually said completely different because of the wording used or because of the emotion behind it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
I think we asked this, but did you read Height at all?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Or Thinking Fast, Thinking Slow?
Yeah. Do you have a favorite psychology book? I think it's like.
I need to hold on a second. I need to make a note. I need to go on Discord for a second.
Okay.
Let me pause the whole show for that.
Did something happen? Did someone blow up?
No, I'm just making a note because I'm out of books to read. So
really?
Something,
yeah. Oh, look, I'll send you some.
Mind.
Look, I can send you some DMs. Obviously, if you
need book
suggestions. Yeah, if you like psychology, like that's Sitch and like that's our basically our favorite thing. So I have Influence by Cialdini is obviously an amazing book. Have you read Why Gender Matters by Leonard Sachs? I think is his name.
Yeah.
No.
That's
more of the psychology.
Book.
So I've read some traditional psychology, especially like in school and stuff like that. More of the psychology I read now is like, let's say like influencing psychology, because that's what my channel is based on. Like how to get people to like how to win friends and influence people, because that seems to be like the thing people have the most issues with.
Yeah,
in terms
Carnegie,
of,
right? Dale Carnegie.
Yeah, but where it's like it's not specifically Dale Carnegie, but it's more on that side.
Yeah, no, I'll hook you up. I would call super interesting
defensive psychology, which would be like neurolinguistic programming. So people who will use hypnotism techniques to manipulate you and control you, which is very, very relevant in the PUA sphere. I exposed in the video that I did about that guy named Alex. There was a guy who was has a pretty decent sized following, sells pickup artist course and stuff like that. And it's like you watch his content, and because I'm aware of the hypnotism techniques that are being used, I can look and say he actually didn't teach these guys anything. He just insisted on a single word, said a bunch of nonsense that was related to an emotional state, and then sold a $3,000 course.
Right.
Well, that's what's weird to me about like Tate and a lot of the other people in that sphere is, they're like, listen, I'm going to tell you how to basically manipulate women into, sleeping with you or dating you or even being your whores, I guess. And I'm watching this and I'm like, do the people not realize he's doing that to the guys listening? He's manipulating them to get money. He's doing the
Yeah.
exact same thing that he's saying
the
that
same
he's gonna.
OnlyFans star that there. He's instead of paying the OnlyFans chick, he's paying Andrew Tate to make fun of the OnlyFans chick.
Yeah, that's why I'm just watching this
That-
and I don't understand how people don't see it.
yeah,
It's crazy.
that's why these. I mean, being a creator, you have to kind of ask how people are doing well, so that you can either one, call out a predatory business model, or two, if it's a good business model that is actually helpful, you can replicate it.
Right.
And so it's
right.
like, well, how does Fresh and Fit and like whatever podcast get so much fucking money for their channel? Like they're getting like some of the highest super chats on the platform. Partially the reason for that is people will pay them $100 to make fun of some chick from OnlyFans. So it's like I have these angry preconceived notions about women. They specifically only put women on these shows who are degenerates or OnlyFans people. So it's easy to make fun of them. And I'm now going to pay $100 to make fun of this chick. And then a lot of those same people will go subscribe to their OnlyFans after the show's over. So everybody wins.
It's a good business model, I guess.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, I agree. To me, it's so like low moral and so bad for society that just we're gonna get the dregs, right? We're gonna get all the people that are gonna get you the most fucking triggered, the most anger baited to come on, and then we're gonna make fun of them, and then you're gonna pay us a bunch of money for that. So that like which if that's all it was and people kind of understood that's what it was and they wanted to pay for it, I'd say okay, fine. But my big problem with a lot of the red pill stuff is it's like, well, there's this attitude that this is what women really are and this is how all women are, and they try to promote that idea, and the people that are paying them are basically just buying into this ideology, and they're kind of paying out of spite and anger, it seems like to me.
And they have low experience with women, so they don't know the nuance of like, oh, this is what this type of woman's like, this is what a toxic woman's like, and they change that to this is what all women are like, or the vast majority of women. They'll say things like unicorns or not all women are like that. That doesn't exist. It's all women are like that. So these are probably just people who have very, very little experiences with women. And their worldview is Fresh and Fit now.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Or these Manosphere Alpha podcasts, where the Alpha podcasts are specifically putting on women who are the bad ones to piss men off, or who are narcissistic or sociopathic, or have delusions of grandeur that don't make sense. Like she's 100 pounds overweight. She's 39 years old, and she wants a 20-year-old guy who makes $1 million a year.
Of course.
Like you can always find a chick who's going to do that. I mean, people are like, also a lot of the channels will do this, where they'll find one small channel on TikTok and they'll say, you see this angry bitch on TikTok? This is what all women are like. It's like, okay, if this person had like 1 million followers and like 100,000 views in every video, it's like, okay, well then you can make some sort of argument that there's an audience in general for this. Therefore, there's some sort of point to be made here. But if it's just one person and there's no views on it, then you can't really make an argument out about it. It's just this one mean chick who probably has some psychological problems. But there are channels who will do that, and they'll say all women are like this.
Yeah, and they're creating, not only they're duping all these guys out of money essentially, but they're not setting them up for success. They're giving them a lot of strategies that are going to just fail, and so there's just this massive grift of like, oh well, like. And I think, as you said, is perfectly. Instead of giving money to an OnlyFans girl, you're giving money to a guy to make fun of an OnlyFans girl. Yeah. It's like, is that a better use of your money?
And then
like,
also giving money
really.
to the OnlyFans chick a lot of times too. I mean, these girls make tons. The reason they keep going on, they know they're going to get made fun of. And when they get made fun of, they make lots of money. That's why they keep coming back.
Well, see, that's even more wild. So like the people that watch that show are then turning around and subscribing to their OnlyFans.
Yeah,
of course.
Like,
yeah,
what is going on there? Like that's so insane to me.
So when we went on the whatever podcast, that was a part of the conversation we had when we were outside the door, just talking to the OnlyFans chicks and how they make money from these podcasts.
That's so weird.
It happened in my situation. So before Fresh and Fit were popular, this is regrettably this happened. They did that same model where it's like, this is before everybody knew what kind of the deal was. It was just like, oh, these chicks happen to be on here. They happen to have OnlyFans. It's not like people didn't know it was planned at that point. Right. So there was this girl. It's a very, very famous Kevin Samuels moment where he says, when the OnlyFans dries up, Subway will be hiring. So people used to quote Kevin Samuels on that a lot. So I ended up reacting to that video when it was brand new. That video of mine blew up got 1 million views. Unfortunately, that resulted in Fresh and Fit getting 50,000 subscribers when they only had 20,000. So I feel bad about that.
Oh my God. You
So,
created this monster.
No, they would have been successful anyway with the model, but I feel bad about giving them a boost.
Right.
So what happened after that, the end result of that was she made $20,000 from that situation. The OnlyFans girl who got told she was going to work at Subway.
We are live.
And then she went on the podcast again several times, acted like a bitch, left, and created all this drama, and she ended up making even more money.
What is the psychology of what the fuck is happening there? Because I would assume these people would be like, oh, this woman sucks. So
That, by the way, that's a video that I got rid of because it was actually helping them, because it was helping her. And then I also got rid of because I ratted to, I think, 2 or 3 different Fresh and Fit situations. And after they started copyright striking people who were saying, hey, this guy Fresh is not really good with women at all they do is financial virtue signal, and they're kind of frauds. And they started copyright striking those people to silence them, and then did this whole, well, here's why we're allowed to censor people, here's why it's not wrong. And I was like, no, that's still censorship. And then I deleted every video that I had on them.
Nice.
Look at this. The moral guy here.
I know you're a very moral person.
What's
in
it like
sea
to go,
of immoral actors?
What's it like to go on a date on the whatever podcast?
A day on the I don't know, mostly it was boring. It seems like the host lets the guests run the show a lot.
Look, I'm assuming you were dating Brittany at the time, right?
Yeah.
I pulled it up. You're sitting right next to Brittany. So was this like how long had you guys been dating?
7 or 8 months.
Okay.
We've been dating a little bit over a year at this point.
Are you
Wait,
guys
no,
married
it's
yet?
more longer than that. What?
When are you guys getting married?
We'll see. Would you like to be a little bit private?
Look, it has a.
That's a good attitude. That's a good idea.
I can't believe you even asked that shit.
Well, no, because you're talking about like how long you should be dating until you get married. That's the only reason I had.
Look,
well, I can
but
say
you already know.
We've
Look,
been
you already
together
know the
for
math.
We've been together
Right.
for over a year, and we're still together. So I think that answers your question.
Okay, that's good. That's good. What would you
Yeah.
do in a hypothetical situation where like Brittany starts making shit tons more money than you, astronomical more money than you? Would you be like, okay, I guess I'll be the primary chore / caretaker of the child?
It's hard to answer that question because based on our, what's up? Thanks for the food. Hold on a second, my mic just cut out for a second.
That's cool. No big deal.
Or my headphones just cut out for a second. So she would never work that much, and she would.
Was that her you were signing right there?
Yeah, she just gave me food.
Okay.
So she she just would never. That would probably be a huge turnoff for her. That's why. So in that case, that'd be a difficult situation because it'd also be kind of a turnoff for me because I want the person I'm married to stay home. I don't want them working.
Right.
Yeah, but
if she let's say for her, if she wants to make videos and stuff like that, like I'm fine with that. But like, it's not an essential requirement that she has to sit here and work a 9 to 5 on YouTube or whatever. So it's in that situation, I don't know, like that doesn't seem like a person I'd have a family with because I work enough to the extent where like it would actually really harm the kids to have us both working that much.
No, right, but I'm saying
you don't just make millions of dollars without working a lot.
Right. I'm just saying, like, you start dating someone, doesn't have to be Brittany because this is a theoretical. Right? So if you can find someone who's not lazy, just kidding.
She's not lazy. She just doesn't like working that much.
I mean, who does?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Like, I kind of like.
Look, I love working. What are you talking about?
There you go. Type A is over.
Sean
like,
seems.
Let's say.
Sean seems the same way, right? You enjoy what you're doing, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason why. I mean, there are certain parts of it that you don't enjoy, which is why there are people who do well and people who don't. The people who do well enjoy it and also do the parts they hate. So, but
anyway, so like you start dating someone, you're having a really good relationship with them. You've been dating for almost a year or longer. You guys get married, you have a kid, and then unexpectedly or whatever, the woman, she's like planning to take care of the kid, but then her job for whatever it is just takes off. She's making crap tons of money. Would you still be like, well, I just preferred if you quit your job and take care of the kid? Or are you going to be like, well, for the financial sake, I'll quit my job and take care of the kid?
That's really hard to answer. What we
I
would probably
know.
do in that case is that's kind of the point, right? What we probably do in that case is where if there was some sort of wave to be ridden, it'd be like, okay, well, I'll take care of the kids at this point, and then once the wave starts going down, then we'll switch.
Okay.
Because
And
if her business popped off that much, we would
right.
have enough time to like where if like let's say my business died, we would have so much free time in that case where I could retrain and do a completely different job. So
Mhm.
that's probably what would happen. But I don't think it'd be like a sustained. She's now the provider for the next 20 years.
Well, you say that, and then it turns into that.
Oh, okay.
You blink, and then overnight, it
Yeah.
turns out her wave never dies. It just keeps going.
If her wave never died, eventually what would happen is that she would get so much money that she would feel like she wouldn't need to work anymore, and then it would die that way.
Okay. So then she would be like, "Oh, I've made enough money. I'm just gonna quit." Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. And yeah. So presumably, okay. Fair enough. I guess fair enough. Fair answer.
Would you call yourself anti-feminist? I know some people use that term.
It depends on which. So initially, yeah, but it depends. Now it depends on which type of feminism are you talking about. And there are certain things that I disagree with on feminism. There's certain things I agree with. Like,
Should women be able to vote?
yes.
Okay. I mean, you laugh, but
You passed. You
heard
passed.
people say the opposite of that.
Yeah.
On the
Well,
show, so.
there. I think it's kind of that kind of brings off the same situation where like, and you find I think a little bit came out on the whatever
Should
podcast.
Brittany
Not
be
my
allowed to vote?
everybody but Brittany. Everyone can vote but Brittany.
You
So,
passed again. Flying colors.
No. So it came out a little bit on not my episode of the whatever podcast. So it came out on the episode that Destiny was on with John Doyle, Modern Life Dating, and that one guy named Chase.
Mm-hmm.
So where they were talking about abusive situations, and they're like, "Well, yeah, you should just endure the abusive situation."
Oh, I know. That's awful.
And well, we know people who know people who know people, and had personal experiences with people around these cases, and the people who are saying that actually are pretty horrible people in real life. So there's a reason they're saying certain things.
Mhm.
And I think in the case where it's like the people who are saying women shouldn't vote, they also accompany that with a lot of notions of violent takeover. So it's like, do you think women shouldn't vote because it's the most moral thing, or do you think women shouldn't vote because you're kind of an abusive person? So in
Right.
my case, where I think things should be voluntary, in a case where force is going to be asserted upon somebody, they should have some sort of choice in that force. And so no taxation without representation,
Right.
that kind of thing.
What is your? I hear this term toxic masculinity. What is your opinion of that term?
And pretty negative in general with how it's used, because they'll say things that are just traditionally masculine, things that are actually good masculinity is toxic. If you're going to say abusive traits, yeah, those are bad. That's toxic. But I don't think the way the modern / woke feminists use that term, I don't think it's genuinely a good term.
Yeah, look, I'm not a fan of the term, but I do think there are obviously toxic elements of relationships. I don't like it necessarily being tied to just men, though. Obviously, women have toxic behaviors too. That can be just as bad. But obviously, like the people who are saying women shouldn't vote because they're, pieces of shit, I think they're generally toxic people.
Well, they're going to have some sort of rationalization for why women shouldn't vote. They're going to say like, oh, this guy did this morality test. Men can hit all 5 levels of morality. Women can only hit 3 of them.
Right.
Or some, not these are the same people who don't understand why women communicate indirectly versus directly, because it's actually dangerous for women to communicate directly a lot of times. Think of a guy who's twice as strong as you. You don't know which guys.
Where do you know all this stuff from? I always, like you said, you don't really have a what book is this from?
Oh, these are just things that people used to say in the manosphere.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, there was a certain part of it where it's good, where they were bringing up, here's some issues with divorce, here's some issues with modern feminism, and where they were actually bringing up good things. Now it's just like the issues have been addressed, and so they're trying to go to the next level, so they still get viewership. So they're now it's just women are all toxic and whores and stuff like that, and as opposed to leveling up in the positive way, where it's like, this problem's been solved, let's move on to the next problem. It's the same thing they did with like, okay, well, this LGBT issue has been resolved. Now we're just going to move it to the next thing, instead of saying, okay, let's work on a different problem. Now it needs to be like over here. So
What you're saying is straight out of a David Buss book, a David M. Buss book. But I mean, we had Rollo on, and Rollo didn't like David M. Buss because I guess he kind of debunked one of his theories. So I think the manosphere has put a lot of David M. Buss ideas out there that David Buss has done the research on. So that's probably where you're getting it from.
Oh, I think there's also a conversation, Brittany, I've been having where it's like Rollo likes to talk about pre-selection theory, whereas women want guys who've been pre-selected by other women.
Right.
And so there's a counter to that, which is the pre-selected men are often men who feature attractive traits, like they can dress well, they act masculine, they have good posture. And so is it because they're pre-selected by women, or is it because those are the men who are being attractive?
Right. They have all those traits anyway. Yeah.
So that would have to be that's a pretty big confounding factor. And until that's addressed, you can't use it as a valid theory.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I buy that. Who do you know who did the pre-selection theory? That's not Buss, right?
Nobody ever cites it. So how do you know?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They might be going off the boy band thing where they put a bunch of women around the boy band guys and that made them popular. But was it just the women being there, or was it because they glammed them all up and made them kind of attractive in a masculine / feminine way that would appeal to lots and lots of women?
I mean, it's probably a combination of these factors, as much as it's kind of a cop out. Because, like, we are social animals, and if we say, "Oh, if everyone likes this one person," it does create kind of the emperor's new clothes effect to some extent. To some extent, but I also agree that like if it's if women like someone, then that shows that they're doing something right, presumably.
Yeah.
And so that should appeal to other women, definitely.
So then we need to know at that point, to what degree does this have an effect? Is pre-selection 80% of the equation, or is it 5% of the equation?
Right, exactly. Right. Get a bunch of schlubs and you have like a bunch of women fawning over them. And I don't know, the women be like, wow, they must be doing something right. They're a bunch of like fat, ugly guys that these women love. And maybe that would be like the exact opposite of
Notice how you don't see a lot of women trailing around that.
True. I mean, that is, I mean, I guess it depends, maybe out in LA, Adam, there's a bunch of, that's a rich producer right there. Look at
there's a guy who looks ugly who can attract a woman, but he's attracting him with his wallet.
Yeah, of course. Well, also, I wonder, it was very interesting, the direct versus indirect thing, which I'm assuming, Adam, you're saying is that from The Murder Next Door?
No, it's not. It's one, here, I'll look it up. Go ahead.
But because I'm wondering too, I wonder if actually more, like if that's something that like women literally evolved to have that behavioral trait, which I think is probably true. I'm assuming that indirect versus direct thing is cross-cultural. I would imagine that would be more not the fear of getting killed by men, but just more that in order to maintain relationships with women, since women, like if men fight, then they can still be friends or become actually stronger friends after fighting. Where with women, a lot of times when they fight, it's like the relationship is just destroyed. And so I wonder if that indirectness allows kind of a safety area, like safety space, I guess, if there's some sort of conflict to sort of back out of it without causing a conflict.
Yeah, and it's hard to make, because what they're using it as moral judgments, where guys are more moral because they're more direct and women are more immoral because they're less direct.
Exactly. That's a great
But it's
point,
like if you're in a circumstance where you have to do that, then where's the morality?
Right.
Like you're like, I mean, not many people are going to pass the moral test, which is why, like in a number of videos, I say like, hey, certainly you can test yourself morally, but you probably would be better if more people put themselves in places where they don't constantly have to test their moral character, because most people are going to fail that test.
Right. And then also, I mean, there is going to be obviously a level of cultural, like each culture is going to have a different level of directness, indirectness. Like, in Japan, there could be a lot of like insane levels of indirectness.
Yeah.
In that culture, even what Hassan talked about in the stream that you were on, about how they won't even they're so not direct, they won't even fire you. They'll just like basically bully you until you quit.
Yeah, that's horrible.
Right. You're like, that was pretty crazy.
Laughing my ass off when he said that. I was like, really?
But it's not a good thing. I don't know why you put that up.
You're the guy who's like against all the bullying and hate speech, and you recommend hate speech as a form of employment management.
It's like, the fuck?
I know what someone's saying.
This is why I try to stick to my areas of expertise and try to do a lot of studying in those areas and try to update and read constantly so I don't fuck up like that.
Right.
because you're recommending really horrendous things, and you're, especially as someone who, if
He
Hassan
doesn't
had,
care.
yeah, he
Doesn't
doesn't care.
at
But
all.
if
Yeah.
Hassan had 3,000 followers, who gives a shit if he says stuff like that? Because it's not really going to have an effect on society. It's not going to affect enough people who will tell their friends, family, and everybody around them to actually create a cultural change. But the bigger your following gets, the more responsible you have to be. Which
Yeah.
is why my videos used to take 3 to 5 days to make. Now they take 7 to 14 days to make.
Right. Well, and I mean, we're really seeing that come to head now with the sort of the whole Israel situation, where, I understand it's a very complicated situation and people have like, different takes on whether they're more sympathetic to Israel or the Palestinians or both. But I don't think people expected a huge chunk of young kids to basically be sympathetic to Hamas itself and to have literally very little to no sympathy or to blame Israel for like the people that died.
What's really funny about that is I haven't done I there are certain situations I just don't care about. This happens to be one of them. I didn't really care about the Ukraine thing either. My opinion is generally I don't want to get involved in wars that aren't our business. But it's really funny is that all the people on the left who would call people on the right Nazis, and it turns out that a lot of Hassan's following hates Jews.
Yes. Yes. Well, no, they'll say, listen, we don't hate Jews. We just hate Israel.
They're the pro-socialism. They're pro like banning certain free speech. They're anti-gun. All the things that the Nazis believe, and they also hate Jews. So I thought that was funny.
Well, it's, I've always said this and it's true. The Jews get it from both ends because the far right hates them because they're not white and the far left hates them because they are white. So, kind of get hit from both sides. It depends who you ask.
I think when you ask Robin DiAngelo, I think she determines who's white and who's not white.
She would probably say Jews are white.
That was the funniest part of the book I read, where it's like you have to audition to be white. So the Italians weren't white; they were just Italians, and they got discriminated against heavily. And then they passed their audition, and they became white in like the 80s.
This was who said this?
Robin DiAngelo.
This was in White Fragility?
Yes. That is a really fun read.
Right. Well, I'm assuming she's making sort of the whiteness as a property that has to be acquired, essentially, argument.
Yeah, and by the way, it makes no actual statistical arguments or anything like that, and it cites no research. Just her only research is her own colleagues, that her friends are saying, "Oh, this colleague of mine who I'm best friends with said this thing, therefore it's right."
Oh my god!
Kind of like when I commented on Noah Samson, thinking, "Oh, there's a lot of nuance to this situation. Here's a person that I agree with saying a thing I agree with," versus like, "Oh, here's like." This is why what pisses me off is certain people still don't notice this, where it's like when I take a take where I'm adding nuance to the situation, I try and purposefully find someone I disagree with and have them give the nuanced take, versus like you really have to only watch people that you agree with to have only nuanced takes from people you agree with.
Right. It's this, and it's got to be so frustrating. And I share that feeling where you look at Hassan, you look at Robin DiAngelo. Kendi's another one of these people who they become so popular and they're just so dumb, and you read what they're saying and it's just not based on evidence. It's just based on their intuitions and their feelings. And yet it just, unfortunately, it seems like the way humans are is it's more profitable to just be dishonest that way.
For now. I mean, we can probably.
That's a good attitude. That's a positive attitude.
It really depends on
how do we change it? It
really depends on AI and robotics change the world. Is it going to have a huge effect, or is this something that we're not going to experience for 50 to 100 to 200 years? Like, it really depends on how complicated AI is. So it could happen tomorrow, or it could happen a long time from now. And so if we have that space with free speech of the internet, we're probably going to get to a point where people fact check a lot more, and people are less willing to listen to grifters because they're so easy to expose.
Well, it's going to be. I don't know if AI is going to change it, because you're going to have this problem with like, Elon Musk is doing his own AI thing. So right now, so you're going to have like Elon Musk's anti-woke AI, and then you'll have ChatGPT, which is like woke AI. So you're going to have, which AI do you believe? Do you believe the woke one or the non-woke one? It's going to create like another division.
Well, I'm talking about AI becoming sufficiently intelligent to not rely on human input.
Oh, right, now you have literal AI.
Yeah, now the AI is like crap. Like I try to get AI to title my videos. It just horribly gives horrendous titles. And title, by the way, being probably the most important thing in terms of like selling a video.
Mm-hmm.
So but basically what you do is you create a video title, and then you make the video around that title so that it gets addressed in the video throughout. And that's how you bring lots of viewership to it, or bring lots of viewership to a channel.
Right.
So so on one of the most important aspects of creativity, which is setting a premise for the thing that you're talking about, ChatGPT sucks at it. It gives like very like headline titles where like you tell everybody what's going on in the title, so they have no reason to watch the video.
Right. It doesn't
Yeah.
know the subtleties. It doesn't know about the
Well,
hook.
Yeah, where it's
yeah.
like if you look at my content, I probably use this gimmick way too much, and maybe I should kind of grow out of it. But it'll say like how this is happening, why this is happening, and it's the reason I do that is because I want people to watch the video to find out what the title means versus me saying, "Woman doesn't want to go to Cheesecake Factory." Well, okay, now I know that she didn't want to go. I've already watched the video by reading the title.
Right.
Yeah.
So
How
that's
did the
good.
woman not want to go to Cheesecake?
yeah, how women don't want to go to Cheesecake Factory or why women don't want to go to Cheesecake Factory probably the better title.
Right.
What was
Yeah, I
your
mean,
title?
So that wasn't the narrative of that story. The narrative was TikTok videos and Shira clips and stuff like that, making women more narcissistic and sociopathic. And don't take this for like this is the perfect title because the video didn't do well. Most likely because the original video was fake. But the title was how TikTok is making women more narcissistic, or is making women narcissistic. I forget what the specific title was.
right.
Look, we should now all of our video clips will be how something.
Well, you
It's
don't
simple.
have to do that. So the other
No, we're
other,
gonna.
other times you can use that gimmick, but because it's easy. But you can also do like my second most popular video was on the island with Bear Grylls, and so the title was "Survival of Men versus Women." So now we know that the establishment is that there's the survival challenge, but we don't know what happens because the title just says the thing. So, well, what happened? Did the women do well? Did the men do well? Did they both even out? Like, what's going to go on with this challenge? So you don't get to know that unless you watch the video.
Right. No, that's a great point. You don't want to give it all away in the title. You have to give them a reason to watch the video.
Not to say that I do that for every video because sometimes it's hard, and
Sure.
oftentimes I'll have to go back and change titles. So the video titles of mine change a lot, especially when it comes to specific wording that'll evoke a certain response. Where it's like I think of this title on day one, but title on day two is better worded, so I'll change it. And you can, if you've done it correctly, you look at the view charts, your views will go up if your title change is good.
So I don't think we're that far away from AI being able to create. You basically have a model where you shove in a bunch of YouTube titles and scripts, and it will chuck out pretty good titles that you're like, oh, that's exactly what I want. I don't think we're that far away from that.
Maybe, but we're as far as ChatGPT doing that, we're not really near it. And there's a ton of people who aren't that great at doing titles. So especially for complex topics. So I feel fairly safe in my end. I don't know about everybody else, unless some unpredictable thing happens in the next year. But the more creative you are with how you make content, the harder it is for ChatGPT to copy it. Where it's like it doesn't know how to segment this particular script in this particular order so people find it interesting. It wouldn't know to do that buildup of the study for Noah being so arrogant about it, followed by him being wrong. It wouldn't get that foreshadowing. And a lot of creators aren't going to get that because they like the person I was talking about who was reacting to it wouldn't get that because they don't think like that. They don't think about storytelling.
Well, it depends, because if they took all your scripts and they put it into ChatGPT and they modeled it after your style, then maybe it would be able to produce that.
Possibly, but the people who really figure out writing, like people like, God, what's that guy's name? I'm forgetting it. There's a guy who wrote John Truby. He wrote a book about called the 20 Rules of Writing. It's called The Anatomy of Story. And what he did was for 3 years, he just sat and watched movies all day. He sat and watched like the top movies all day for 3 years, and then wrote down these patterns of the scripts.
Right.
So in a certain way you can do that, but the problem is that not only do you have to notice a pattern, you have to keep upping the game because people will get bored if you keep using the same pattern. So ChatGPT can figure out it, but is it going to figure out how to progress the content? And you can see content I made years ago, it's actually fundamentally different from content that I make now. Now it's not like such a massive change, but it's a change that's interesting enough to keep people watching. So I don't think ChatGPT is very good at that at all right now. I think most creators struggle with that, especially when they kind of hit their crisis, their YouTube midlife crisis, where their old content stops working and they stop getting views. And a lot of people will sit here and once people start blaming the algorithm, they've hit their midlife crisis. Because like I used to get these views a year ago, but now I get these views. The algorithm hates me. It's like, No,
Doesn't
you're making.
everybody blame the algorithm all the time anyway?
I don't
feel
know.
like they do. It's just like a
seen me done?
standard complaint.
Have
No,
you seen
but
me do
look,
that?
look, you're
So
look,
the
you're
ones
cut above the
amazing at
rest.
this stuff. Like
the
you're
ones who get it don't blame the algorithm. Like Mr. Beast doesn't sit here and
of
blame the
course.
algorithm because
Oh,
he's
of course.
Well, he's
Mentioned-
profiting off of it, so obviously he's not gonna blame that.
well he
Is this book good? John Truby is like the only screenwriting book that I haven't read. I've basically read all of them, but I heard a lot of people talking about Truby though.
I read it kind of in parts where it's like
Oh, so you haven't even read?
I've read
Yeah.
half of it.
Okay.
So but the half
Sounds
that
boring.
yeah. The half that I've read has been so useful for storytelling techniques where it's like,
Oh, really?
oh, here's what I was doing in good videos. You can go back and say that these things were done. Here's how to systematically write it down so that you can repeat it more often than not. I mean, everybody's gonna have a fucked up script. Even in that book, he mentions like, here's a script I was working on for this project here. We had a good story, but until we test ran it in front of audiences, they said this sucked. We didn't have this. We wanted this effect, but it produced that effect. So we went back and cut these scenes and reorganized these things here, and then it worked. But they wouldn't be able to do that without the pre-writing skills, which is like writing a premise. So if I don't know what my video is going to be about, it's really hard to go back and edit parts in and out just because I don't know what's relevant.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
so
like
many people don't get that. Making a YouTube video has a lot in common with storytelling. Most people don't ever make that connection.
Well, because a lot of YouTubers, they do what Hassan does. Hassan's not writing a story.
Oh, of course not.
But
Yeah.
they just blind react to things, which is not only. I mean, I guess in your case, where you guys watched.
Well, we've both
my
made
video,
content.
like, where Sitch watched it and you didn't. You got to be the blind reactor. Sitch got to be like, I've done the research. So.
Well, we're not. Look, we don't only do React content. Obviously, Sitch has made a ton of videos. I've made a ton of videos. So we have made content. We understand what's involved. Yeah.
Oh, so no, I wasn't. I was just saying in the case of the content I've seen.
Right. Yeah.
So that kind of sounded like an attack on you guys.
No, not at all.
I just mean that most of YouTube is like
we're
like,
lazy React content creators now. Okay.
Yes.
I get it. But hopefully
Proudly.
you've given us a secret to titling our clips so that we
a little bit better, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, one of the clips I was going to bring up is like you did the intro clip, which is a very, very essential. This depends on what you're doing, but like you start with the interesting hook and then you move into the video. But the issue is that the intro clip happens 30 seconds into the actual video, so it would have just been better to remove the intro clip and just let the video play. Like things like that are things that you have to kind of creatively figure out. And like I said, when we're talking about ChatGPT being able to figure out how to regulate that, I don't think it's going to figure that out for a while.
Yeah, CT, don't do that.
What do you mean? CT's doing great. So look, I've done clips, but we have CT does a lot of our clips, so she does the intros. So
Lives in Dev's Walls for $10 says, I'm having ChatGPT make a Sitch and Adam clip. It knows who you are, but it's not very good at emulating you. There you go.
That's the more creepy thing. Like the more things we have to worry about are like deep fakes, where someone's behind it, creating your voice and stuff like that. I'm a lot more concerned about that than I am about ChatGPT creating content that's so good that content creators become irrelevant.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's only going to get worse. I mean, especially for people like us, when there's like so much content of our voice out there already. Anyone could do that pretty easily going forward.
Yeah, I guess it's good that I don't use I can't replicate my actual voice in video content because it'd be hard to deep fake me.
Well, they'll take the stream. What do you mean?
I mean, is that enough content? The ones that they're doing are like Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson. They're still inaccurate, and they have hundreds of hours, I guess thousands of hours in their case of content.
Yeah, but that's just so far. I mean, every year the technologies just get better and better and better and better. And I don't know exactly what goes into it because I don't know if you listen to any of those like deep fake songs where they emulate.
I've listened to a couple of them. I've watched Goku sings Slim Shady. Yeah,
exactly. See, those are so weird because some of the models are so good, like the oh my god, I'm totally blanking. The
hey, not to interrupt here, but we're at 7:00, so I'm going to send the link to What If All It Hissed. Do you mind sticking around and saying hello to him? Do you watch his content at all, Sean?
The only experience I've had with him was when he was on your show.
Okay. Were you guys on together already?
No, I just watched him. I was driving home in traffic and I was like, what's going to be on? And then it's like, it said Adam and Sitch, so I'll just put it on in the car.
Look, I know.
Nice. There you
Yeah,
go.
I know you. We only have you for a couple hours, so but you know, you can say hi.
Yeah, I don't mind saying hi.
Okay,
There you
cool.
go. But no, like it's so weird because like the Frank Sinatra models, I don't know, are like so good. They sound so much like him. And then you listen to some of them, you know, and like the Mr. Krabs one is a good one for some reason. And I don't know if why, but then you listen to, I don't know, like SpongeBob or some of the other ones, you know, Kanye West's or Jordan Peterson, and they're like, they're just kind of good,
I think
but
it
they're
might
not
also
as good as the
depend
other
on
ones.
it might depend on the perfection of the voice, because when you're talking about people who are voice actors or public speakers, they tend to have very good enunciation and don't fuck up words a lot.
Mm,
So when you this becomes a lot more apparent when you learn a language, especially a language that's very different from yours. So it is very a lot of people when they learn how to speak Japanese, they start out with anime because anime is done by voice actors who say things very clearly. They don't fuck up speech. They don't speak too fast. But then when you go to, let's say, actual Japanese people, you know, like someone like Hajime Shacho, who mumbles a lot, speaks super quickly, it's very, very hard to understand someone like that versus a voice actor.
right.
So if you have a chat bot trying to mimic someone who is imperfect at the way of speaking, it's probably a lot harder to replicate that.
Hi, you just listened to a clip from the Sitch and Adams show. If you like what you heard, you can listen to our live show right here on this channel on Sunday, starting at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. And if you want, you can super chat us. We read $20 and up super chats on the show and then do a follow-up stream on the following Tuesday where we read the rest of the unread super chats and interact with fans of the show. Subscribe to this channel right here to listen to the live show or to listen to more of our awesome clips.